Hi, and welcome to How Do I BI, a many-part screencast series on using SQL Server Analysis Services 2008, a companion to Smart Business Intelligence Solutions with Microsoft SQL Server 2008. I'm Lynn Langett, Developer Evangelist with Microsoft in Southern California. In this edition, we're going to take a look at implementing KPIs using BIDs in OLAP cubes. Before we go to the screencast, we'll cover a couple of FAQs and gotchas. So in the FAQ section for KPIs, we recommend that you favor OLAP Cube KPIs rather than implementing KPIs on specific clients. These could include clients such as Excel or SharePoint. The reason for this is they are centralized and can be utilized by several clients and provide a more consistent view of key business metrics. KPI authoring requires some knowledge of MDX query language. For some developers, that can be a significant hindrance. A good way to get started is to review and to utilize the included KPI templates that are part of BIDs. Something that a lot of developers aren't aware of is that KPIs can be based on other KPIs. And we'll see an example of this in the screencast. The gotchas for KPIs include making sure to verify the actual results of the KPI in the viewer that's included in BIDs. As we'll see, there is a specific viewer just for KPIs because KPIs cannot be viewed in the general cube viewer using BIDs. The verification should be including looking at the MDX for validity to make sure that it returns the correct result, and also from a performance standpoint. One of the challenges for new BI developers is the learning curve associated with MDX. We do recommend a reference book or spending some time with the MDX language in the MSDN documentation, because MDX, although based on T-SQL, is used to query a structure, i.e. a cube, that is significantly more complicated, and it generally takes quite a bit longer to become comfortable with using this language. The last gotcha is verify that the intended client that you're going to use to access your cube data supports KPIs. Not all clients do, and this is obviously a key consideration when you're going to use them. Now we're going to go ahead and go to the screencast. To understand how KPIs can be utilized in OLAP Cube, a great way to get started is to open the solution, including the samples, inside of BIDs, as we've done here. So we've got AdventureWorks DW open, and we've opened the cube AdventureWorks by double-clicking on it. And once the Cube Designer has been opened in BIDs, we've navigated to the KPIs tab. The KPIs tab has two views associated with it. It has a code view and a Kpi Display view. So we've started out in the Kpi Display view, assuming that some of you might be completely new to KPIs. And this is just a suggested display for KPIs that you might utilize in some of your client applications. So you can see that KPIs are associated with a core structure or folder, and KPIs can actually be nested. So you can see down here we've got net income at the top level KPI that's dependent on a nested operating profit and financial gross margin KPI. So what a key performance indicator is designed to do is to display the value of a certain measure. So we'll take the example of internet revenue here. This is showing us $29 million of internet revenue, a goal, and then a graphical indicator showing us the status, and those would be generally red, yellow, or green, and there's different types of icons that are available for selection. Optionally, a trend, so whether or not the KPI value is tending to remain the same, go up, or go down, and then optionally we can assign a weighting to a KPI if it's part of a group. We haven't done that in any examples here. The information is also available for a KPI to give people who are going to be using this a little bit more information about how the KPI was derived. So you can see that was shown for internet revenue there. So once you get an understanding of the KPIs that are associated with the sample cube, then you're going to want to take a look at how they're constructed. So we're going to go back over to the form view by clicking on that button, and we're going to see that we have a KPI organizer, we have a function browser, and we have a template section on the left side of the KPI builder. For the specific KPI that we were looking at, which is internet revenue, if we click on it, we can then see the code that's associated with the KPI. So here we have internet revenue, and then the first choice that we have to make is which measure group this KPI will be associated with. So we've selected internet sales here, and then we need to select a value expression. So it's simply the internet sales amount. And value expressions can be much more complex than this. They consist of some sort of MDX statement that is valid against the cube. The goal expression is a little bit more complex. This is using an MDX case statement. Now, MDX is a language all onto its own and really would require a separate screencast to completely go through, but we'll show you a couple of tips inside of here. So in addition to using the function browser to take a look at what functions are available, for example, if you're going to be using navigation across hierarchies, you can use navigational functions. When you are working in the editor here, you can actually get a little bit of IntelliSense by simply starting the function. You can see in the case of isEmpty, this is expecting a value expression, which is pretty straightforward. Parallel period might be less familiar to those of you who are new to MDX. This is a time-based function that allows you to, as it says, return a member from a prior period in the same relative position. It's often used with a time dimension, as it is here. So you can see for the date hierarchy, the date dimension, the fiscal hierarchy, the fiscal year, the first member, we're going to retrieve the current member. Also, there's color coding to help you understand the code. Keywords are colored and functions are colored in brown, and statement words are colored in blue, and so on and so forth. So you can see the goal expression defines how we reach the goal. Then we proceed down and we take a look at the status indicator, which is the graphical shape that we've selected to be displayed. Whether or not these are displayed is wholly dependent on the client. In the case that the client does not support the display, they'll display rather 1, 0, or -1. And that's related to the status expression that's defined here. So you can take a look and see we've got another case expression that simply defines what the threshold for a value of good, okay, or bad, which is 1, 0, or -1. So when the KPI value of internet revenue, for example, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read the whole statement here. We also optionally have the ability to define an MDX statement for trend, and we can associate a graphic with that. And you can see the graphics that are available here. And you can see the trend expression is again a case expression. One sort of interesting thing to notice is we're actually calling the VBA function library, which is associated with MDX, to make some functions that are available and not natively a part of MDX available for your code. So then we just go on and go through this, and then if we wanted to take a look at this, you might be surprised to find that if we go over to the browser and we open up the measures, there actually is no ability to display KPIs in this particular browser. So if you want to validate your work within BIDS, the only place that you can do it is where we initially showed here, the KPI browser. However, that might not be an appropriate view for you. So what we've done is we have also opened this up in Excel, and we'll jump over there in just a minute. Before we do that though, let's show how to add a new KPI. So to do it, you can just click on this new KPI button, and then you'll define your KPI. We call it My KPI. And then we want to select an associated measure group. So let's select Internet Sales. And you notice that there are these indicators showing that you have errors in your KPI definition. So this is telling you that your value expression cannot be empty, and you have to define what your KPI value is going to come from. Now, KPIs can be built off of other KPIs, or they can be built off of existing measures. So we're going to go ahead and define internet sales here. And within internet sales, we will then specify a goal expression, and so on and so forth. Now, if you're brand new to the world of working with this, rather than struggling with the MDX, what we have found is a real productivity enhancer is to use the templates. So if we wanted to add a KPI based on one of these templates, and they're grouped by functionality, so we have customers, financial, human resources, and internal processes, you just open that up, and then you can just double click that to take a look at what it's going to be. And these do cover the most common scenarios. So let's just, for example, look at days of inventory. So if we double click that, you can see it gives you a template and then gives you quite a bit of help with the goal, status, and trend expressions. And we have found these during our discussion of KPIs. What we've done is we've connected to the OLAP cube, that's our sample, through Excel 2007. And when you do this, after you connect, you will then be shown a pivot table field list. And in addition to being able to select measures as we've done here by selecting internet sales and dragging it onto the display area, we wanted you to be aware that Excel 2007 natively supports the display of KPIs. So what we've done is we've taken our same KPI that we had designed in BIDS and we've selected it to be displayed inside of Excel 2007 by simply clicking the check marks. And then the symbols that we had selected are displayed inside of it. In addition to natively supporting KPIs in Excel 2007, they're also supported in SharePoint Portal Server 2007 in the Reporting Services Center web part that is available for analysis services. In addition to this, you can of course create a custom client, but it is imperative when you're using KPIs in an OLAP cube that you make sure that the client will support them.